Buenos dias, all. RGT85 here. Hope everyone's having a great day. It was a very busy Monday in the world of video games. We got three stories, big stories that I definitely want to talk about in today's video. If this is your first time here on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, share the video around with your friends or your enemies. I don't care, just as long as they watch. Like, I'll be a happy camper. You can even leave a dislike if you want to. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. We're going to start things off with really an icon, a pioneer in Japanese game development and Japanese game production, is leaving the studio that he helped co-found. And I, of course, am talking about Hideki Kamiya. Now, Kamiya, of course, got his start with Capcom back in the day, working on projects like Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, big iconic titles and stuff like that. Then he founded Clover Studios, which was, a studio that did stuff like Okami. So he's always had like a really good track record. Then, of course, he went on to co-found Platinum Games and was responsible for stuff like the Bayonetta games, Vanquish, Wonderful 101, having a hand in all of these different properties and entities. Well, he announced that he's actually leaving Platinum Games, and Platinum Games also confirmed this as well, because of something to do with his beliefs. He feels like it was a tough choice to make, but it was the right choice for him to make. So I guess he's going to go out on his own and maybe start up another company or do something like that. We'll talk about some of the possibilities here because it kind of plays into who he is as an individual. Now, I definitely respect the games that he's made and been a part of. Some of them have been better than others, I feel, but for the most part, a Kamiya involved game is probably going to be, at the very least, it'll at least be a good game. You know what I'm saying? It might not be great, might not be excellent, but at the very least, it'll be good and it'll have some interesting flair to it because he's a very eccentric person. But I also feel like that could be a bit of a detriment to him going forward because the man is 52 years old and he still acts a lot younger than that. And I know that's rich coming from someone like me because I'm a giant kid too. And probably when I'm in my 50s, if I make it that far, hopefully the old heart holds up until then, I'll probably be very similar. But I feel like it's a little bit different because of the fact that it almost seems like he's a very anti-authoritative sort of person. I could see him butting heads because he's a very stubborn individual. You look at his social media and stuff like that, like, for lack of a better term, he's a dick. Like, he blocked me probably a decade or so ago, back when I worked on Nintendo Enthusiast's website, because I asked him a question about Bayonetta 2 coming to the Wii U and something about that. It was a very respectful question. It wasn't out of pocket or anything like that, but he just takes the opportunity to dunk on people and then block them. And like I said, I understand that that's his shtick. I understand that that's what he does, but I feel like at some point in time, especially in the business world, you kind of gotta buckle down a little bit. So I'll be interested to see what he comes up with coming out of this. I would assume he's going to start another company. I don't know how he would just sort of go into, an established company or something like that, and then just be another key in the cog, of the giant circle of the video game industry. I feel like he's an individual that needs to be out on his own. He needs to have control of his projects because that's just who he is, and I can relate to that, of course, and maybe that's why I kind of look at him in a different lens because I see a lot of similarities kind of between us. But I think it'll be interesting. I don't see him going to another company. I see him forming yet another company on his own, and I wonder what sort of games he's going to come up with. I hope, and I know I'm going to get heat for saying this, but I hope it's a better situation than what Kojima has done. Like, just work things out with Konami. Please go back, do my Metal Gear stuff, do it properly. Like, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. I could definitely see him, potentially teaming up with other studios. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be interested on the publishing side for publishing his games as well. So the future's wide open for him, man. We probably won't hear anything for a little while, but when we do, it'll be something worth talking about. So, are you surprised that Kamiya is leaving Platinum Games? A lot of people are thinking that Platinum Games is going to fall off a cliff, which, I mean, they've had their controversies. Bayonetta 3 wasn't exactly the most technically sound game. The Wonderful 101 Kickstarter was a big scandal as well because you're an established company, you opened up another branch, but you're asking customers for money and they go, oh, it's just a pre-order. It's like, I don't know, man, something just didn't sit right with me about that. Do you think it's things like that that led to Kamiya leaving? And what do you think the future is going to be, not only for him, but for Platinum Games? Let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. Hacker alert. Hacker alert. Sony has been hacked again. And didn't this happen like almost a decade ago, or a little over a decade ago, where like all Sony systems got hacked and held for ransomware? Well, what's old is new again, because, well, it's happening again. This story is coming to us from pushstart.com. I will be paraphrasing it. Sony has allegedly suffered a huge hack by ransomware group. It was the guy from Watch Dogs who evidently did it. We'll take a zoom in here though, so we can actually see the text better. I'll have a link to this article in the description box down below. But a ransom group by the name of ransomed.vc claims to have compromised all Sony systems, as reported by Cybersecurity Connect. At the time of this writing, the claims have yet to be verified, but the site notes the group has racked up an impressive amount of victims in a short span of time. Spoiler alert, it has been hacked. That is a confirmed thing. Ransomed VC is aiming to sell the data. We have successfully compromised all of Sony's systems. We won't ransom them. We will sell the data. Due to Sony not wanting to pay, data is for sale. Apparently, the group backs up its claims with some proof of hacked data, which includes screenshots of an internal login page, PowerPoint presentation, Java files, and a file tree, which apparently consists of fewer than 6,000 files. Cybersecurity Connect notes that this seems like this seems low for all Sony systems. So there's a bunch of stuff to sort of take away from this. You know, what is this impacting? You know, because obviously if it's only 6,000 files, it's not impacting everything. I've seen some people on social media taking this as 6,000 PlayStation 5s have been hacked. I don't think this really translates much to the consumer level. I don't think, you know, there is the chance that your information that you have potentially saved on your PSN or something like that could be affected by this. They could, you know, do a credit card skim or something like that. But I find it highly, you know, questionable that that's the goal of this. This is for Sony, because when people think about Sony, they tend to just think about PlayStation when we're talking about video games. But Sony is a much bigger company than just video games. This isn't a situation where it's like, you know, the Xbox stuff from the FTC, where Xbox themselves leaked all this information. Once again, Microsoft is a much bigger company than just Xbox. Sony is a bigger company than just PlayStation stuff. Could there be some stuff, you know, about the future of what they're doing and what they're planning and stuff like that? Like, yeah, sure, definitely, that could be a thing. But I just find it so ironic and just so random how this stuff is still able to happen. It almost feels like the wild, wild west known as the internet, where like you could do these crimes that are so much bigger and more impactful than what people are getting locked up for, you know, in the streets and stuff like that. You're holding essentially data and information hostage from one of the biggest companies in the world. And there's a chance that they'll get away with this, as they have done other, you know, amounts of hacking on stuff like this. Like, I don't know, man, stuff like this, and then stuff like, you know, artificial intelligence, you know, slowly creeping up. Like, it's very scary, man. Like, when you actually take a step back and look at it, it's pretty crazy just, you know, how far people are willing to go and how far this all could really potentially go. So this obviously is a bit of an ongoing story. I guess they tried to sell this data back to Sony, you know, holding it ransom, holding it hostage, essentially saying, hey, pay us X amount of dollars and, you know, we'll give you this data back and we'll call it clean. They didn't want to do that. So now they're looking for someone to potentially buy this information. This, of course, does happen. Source code gets out there about games that gets hacked and then sold on a black market or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes from this. Like I said, I don't expect it to impact anyone on a, you know, consumer level or anything like this. This is more so a behind the scenes, you know, executive Sony related things, but we could end up getting some interesting information about this. You know, we could end up getting some interesting leaks about the potential future of what Sony's planning, maybe emails and stuff like that. Who's to really say? Because we don't know what these 6,000 files actually contain and if it's actually up-to-date information, if it's older information, you know, whatever the case may be. But definitely a very scary thing. I hope it gets rectified. Like, you know, it's just kind of shitty that stuff like this happens. I know everyone hates big giant corporations. I get it. But at the same time, we shouldn't allow these vigilante groups to just run around and take down whatever, because if it happened to you, you would probably be pretty pissed off if they took all your information and stuff like that. So definitely a slippery slope situation. Let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said, you know, this is an ongoing thing. They have issued a post date of September 28th, meaning that somebody has to do something between now and the 28th. At the time of the viewing of this video, it'll be the 26th. So maybe we'll have an update on this on Thursday. We'll keep an eye out for it though. But let me know how you're feeling about it in the comment section down below, because it's definitely a shitty situation for Sony right now. And finally, we have potentially a very surprising Nintendo Switch game that has leaked, and it's honestly surprising for a myriad of reasons. When you look at the size of the game, the scope of the game, the rating itself, what this rating actually means in the region that it has been rated, you know, it tells you a lot of different things about the potential of this title. But more importantly, this is like a serious case of deja vu for me, because I remember talking about this like 4 or 5 years ago as a potential thing that was happening. I'm not quite sure I bought into it back then, but nowadays, maybe it's a little bit more feasible. Maybe this is for a next generation Switch, although it is classified as a Nintendo Switch title, and only the Nintendo Switch, not the next generation. So the game in question is, drum roll please. You're not drumming, I'll drum. Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 allegedly has indeed been given a rating in Brazil for the Nintendo Switch. This information is coming to us from Necro Felipe. I hope he's not a necrophiliac, but, you know, he seems like a good enough guy. But Necro Felipe is reporting, here is the translated version: Red Dead Redemption 2 receives indicative rating for Nintendo Switch in Brazil. You can see here, looking at the information, they talk about the game itself, Red Dead Redemption 2, the original year of launch, 2018, Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar Games, and scrolling right along down here, you can see it's for PC, Xbox One, Computador, and Nintendo Switch. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch being a new classification for it. So Red Dead 2 is obviously a massive game. It's a game that I did enjoy playing. I played it back. Did I play it on the PlayStation or the Xbox? I don't remember. I probably played it on the Xbox, because I usually play third-party games on Xbox platforms. I'm pretty sure I made a video on it too. I actually put a ton of time into that game, but I never got around to finishing it. But it was definitely a very cool experience. In retrospect, I do appreciate Red Dead Redemption 1 a little bit more than Red Dead Redemption 2, even though Red Dead 2 was definitely more technologically impressive. You know, I felt the storyline in Red Dead 1 was a bit better, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. There's people that absolutely love Red Dead 2, that think it's the greatest game ever, and they're allowed to think that because, you know, it is a top-notch game. But this is a game that really pushed the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 to their absolute limits. So how the hell would this end up on the Nintendo Switch? Because it says Nintendo Switch, not a future Nintendo platform. Now, the easy line of thinking is to go, oh, well, it's going to be a cloud-based version of the game. And, you know, initially I thought, okay, well, that's probably a possibility here, but there is a caveat with this, in that it does not, a game that has a cloud version in Brazil does not have to go through the ratings board, meaning that this is more than likely a native version of the game. We did just see Red Dead Redemption 1, while technologically not as impressive as the sequel, you know, a pretty large scale game come out on the Nintendo Switch with surprisingly good results. That's actually a damn good game. Like, check out my video on the technical aspects, the performance of it, and to see some gameplay of it. But, you know, that's a really good version of that game. And so could we see something like that with Red Dead 2? You know, how much downgrading would have to be needed? And what is this saying about Rockstar / Take-Two and Nintendo's relationship? Because we've gotten some interesting titles. We've gotten LA Noire, which was a pretty solid port of the LA Noire game on the Nintendo Switch. We, of course, got the GTA trilogy, which, you know, it wasn't great. It's still not really great, but that was outsourced to another company. It had problems on all platforms and stuff like that. Cool in theory, but sort of wonky in execution. And then, of course, you have the NBA 2K games, which, that's more of a 2K thing. But then, of course, you have Red Dead Redemption coming along. So is this saying something for the relationship between Rockstar and Nintendo as far as future projects are concerned, or even past projects? You got to remember, GTA 5 is released on every freaking system under the sun, except the Nintendo Switch. It was released on the PS3, the PS4, the PS5, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the Xbox Series, but it never got a Switch release. And, although GTA 6 is what's on the forefront of everyone's mind, I still think we're a ways away from that game. I think we're a ways away from announcing that game. So could this be a situation where they're just taking older games and starting to bring them over to the Nintendo Switch years after they probably should have? I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this, honestly. It seems completely out of left field. It seems completely random that this is happening now and that this has been announced now. But the thing of it is we got to keep an eye out on other regions as far as the ratings board is concerned, because I think that'll be a more telling thing, like the South Koreans ratings board and stuff like that, because they're always spot on. They talked about stuff and then like months later it ends up coming to fruition. So maybe this is going to be a situation like that, but I don't know. I don't know what to think of this. I don't know how that will turn out either, because of the fact that it's a pretty technologically demanding game on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So I can't imagine, it would be a flawless transition, but maybe they figured something out. Maybe Rockstar has some secret sauce and they're like, hey, this is running pretty good, so we could go ahead and do it. So what do you think about this? Do you think Red Dead Redemption 2 is indeed coming to the Nintendo Switch, or would you rather see it on the next generation system? Or maybe the next generation system is indeed backwards compatible. Rockstar knows this, so they're going to target the standard Nintendo Switch, but then have the upgraded version on the Nintendo Switch 2 with enhancements similar to like a PS4 to a PS4 Pro situation. I don't know. I'm just spitballing stuff here. Let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for today's video. A lot of topics, a lot of discussion. Let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give me your feedback. Like the video, dislike the video, I don't care. Just do something on it. And of course, share it around with your friends. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers, and I would like to hit that at some point in my life. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.